Welcome to WagerTalk Today. Teddy Covers with me. I'm Lawrence Presman, excited to be hosting this show with my good friend Teddy. How's your tea?
It's hot.
Well, that's good because cold tea doesn't work for me, and iced tea I hate even more. Lots to talk about today. Jam-packed show, Teddy. The legend Dave Koken will be joining us. 3 college football games. Then Matt Joseph. We're going to segment on ups for NFL Week 2. He is so good at this, Teddy. I'm this segment with Matt is going to be amazing. And then, of course, Ralph Michaels at the end of the show, trends and angles. I want to welcome everybody into the chat. Really appreciate you guys being here. And Teddy, I got to read you one right off the bat. Josh CT. I've never watched this show before, but I heard Teddy Covers is on it. I could watch him for hours. Thank you, Josh. Frank Budd, you're the bomb. Chance, how are you? Backdoor cover, what's going on? Davy Jones. Teddy, question for you. Davy Jones changed his name because of Davy Jones to what?
I don't know.
David Bowie.
Huh? Okay. I didn't know that. Are you sure?
The monk, I'm probably wrong on this, but there's a good piece of nonsense for you. Dude, I'm going to get this right. Are you ready? Are you ready? We got bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the book. Right here, WagerTalk Today. Go.
We sure do. And, of course, it was a light sports day, relatively light sports day yesterday. No football, no NBA, nor NHL. There was still plenty to talk about, though, when it comes to bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. How about a bad beat? Let's talk about the offshore and why we recommend and always talk about the legal sports books here in the U.S. Did you hear what happened with 5 Dimes?
I did.
What happened with 5 Dimes? You know, they've canceled the wagers for U.S.-facing clients, and that includes future book wagers, including future book wagers that are live. That's tough when you have a live future book wager and you've been riding it and maybe you've hedged against it and then your book says, oh, we're going to cancel that bet. Sorry. That's a bad beat. And I feel, I feel bad for anyone that has the 5 Dimes account that has been having to deal with that. Again, that's at least a big part of the reason why I personally moved to Las Vegas. I wanted to be able to bet and know I was going to get paid. Unfortunately, sometimes when you deal with the unregulated part of the industry, this happens. You have any thoughts on that, Prez, in terms of getting paid off of future book wagers when a offshore kind of decides we're going to take a different approach?
Listen, it's a shame. You'd say it shouldn't be allowed, but they're playing in an unregulated world, so they can ultimately do what they want. And really, the biggest thought that comes to me right off the bat is, thank God this whole industry is changing in front of us. 9 states legalized already. 32 states will be legalized in the next 14 to 18 months. That's what we need, Teddy, because that couldn't happen in Vegas. There's a gaming commission, but there's literally nothing anyone can do in regards to 5 Dimes. However, with that said, I do know, and I know this 5 Dimes thing has just happened. It happened about 7-8 years ago with a book called Bet on Sports. And I do know that books like Bet Chris or Bookmaker or Penny have stepped up to actually honor those wages. And I'm hoping that.
Yeah, and I got Twitter. Someone put me on a Twitter feed yesterday saying, can you talk about this a little bit? What can I do? You have no recourse. Excuse me.
No.
You have no recourse. But we can talk about it. Sometimes talking about it puts enough pressure on the books to make something happen. All that said, I lost, Bet Cascade. I'm still mad at Bet Cascade a decade plus later. Offshore books sometimes go under and sometimes they don't pay. This may be one of those instances. Bad bets from last night. Well, the wise guys bet the Braves up to minus 180. The Orioles pulled another upset. When you look at 1, 2, and 3 in MLB and profitability right now, the Marlins, the Orioles, and the Giants. That's a hell of a 3-team parlay. Miami's the only one of the 3 that's above 500. They're 3 games over 500. The Chi Sox and the Padres are 4 and 5. So the good teams aren't as profitable as the mediocre teams who are supposed to be awful. Orioles, again, get the money last night. Bad bet for the wise guys betting Atlanta in that ball game. Bad bets. I mean, the Angels got bet up to minus 210. They lost at home to lowly Arizona. That's not a good bet. There's lots of LA money last night. Bad for books. This one stood out. The Mets took a ton of money last night. Bet up from minus 125 to minus 175. They're about to lose. They get 1 in the 8th and 1 in the 9th. They stole one against the Phillies. That, not a good result for the house.
Yeah, and I got greedy, dude. I released 2 plays last night. I won 1. I lost 1. The one I lost was the Mets minus 1.5. Well, it happens. Yeah, you know what, Teddy? I'm having such an outstanding baseball season. There's nothing you can do about it. Brother, the Big Ten college football returns. Let's talk about that. And of course, the Charlotte UNC game was just canceled, and I had a bet on it. Released to my clients. Same with Dave Koken. That was his $2 Tuesday bet. So customer service is going to be busy today. What's going on?
Well, I mean, we're seeing now, I think, 15 games that were scheduled be canceled. ACC's been hit, Sun Belt's been hit, Conference USA, et cetera, et cetera. The Big Ten, how do we say it? Buckling under the pressure?
That's the only way. Yep.
The Big Ten protocols are much tougher than we're seeing in other conferences. I'm not convinced they're going to get off the ground. I'm really not. And again, these are college kids who aren't getting paid to take these risks. I'm concerned about it. I am. That said, from a human standpoint, I'm concerned about it. From a betting standpoint, we got another conference to bet. And now they're talking, the Mountain West is talking about coming back into play. So in a year where we're not going to have NBA in November, I don't know we're going to have college football, college hoops in November. I'll take all the college football I can get. I think that might be great. So I'm excited to see this college football season, which isn't anything close to being normal, getting more normalized. Yeah. More games equals more potential plays, and that gets me interested.
Yeah, look, I'm thrilled about it. I mean, we're not going to have basketball or hockey back until probably January 1st. So, and it'll be you give it over?
No, NBA will be back in December.
Please be back in December.
And I would assume that college hoops is still a work in progress right now, but I would expect to see college hoops in December as well.
You look good today, Teddy. I love the blazer, man.
Thank you.
I gave you an opening to tell a great story, but nope. Okay.
The last thing people want to hear about is me and you going shopping, dude. Yes, Lawrence was with me when we bought this blazer. Yes, Lawrence said, Teddy, buy that blazer. It'll look good on me. No. Yes, I think it looks okay on me.
Great
There's
story.
Your story.
Guys, he wrote a great story. The bottom line is Teddy called me on the phone. He's like, Prez, can you take me shopping? I got a budget of X. You know fashion and I don't. We spent like 4 hours at the Premium Outlet Mall. It was one of the funnest days of my life. Guys, thank you for logging on. Frank Budd, of course. Thanks, brother. Terry Edelman, I love you even though we disagree on parlays. Backdoor cover, nice to see you, my friend. West Moneyline, we're both doing great. Trans-Canada, you also have a place in my house to move into. Yeah, dude, you do Puck Time, you do this show, you do Prez Address. It's like you see the same names. It just warms me, man. I'm warm all over. Let's take a quick break. We're right back with Dave Koken.
Have you ever wanted to create your own WagerTalk Dream Team? Well, we are excited to announce you can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at WagerTalk.com. Even more exciting, until Sunday at midnight, you can save up to 40% on your favorite 2 or 3 handicappers and pay as little as $1.99 for a full month of picks. That's right, we've got Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, The Prez, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, Hakeem Prophet, Tony Finn, Rob Vino, Brian Leonard, and so many more. The combinations are absolutely endless. Who's going to make up your dream team lineup? Just go to WagerTalk.com, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Pick Your Team will go back to regular pricing on Monday, so make sure to take full advantage of this incredible offer.
First-time customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in WagerBucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit.
Teddy, I got a monster smile on. One of our Trans-Canada writes, he's telling his woman right now that they have a free hotel and chef when they go to Ontario, which is where I live. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Dave Koken with us. Dave, love having you on the show, my friend. Man, one of my favorite days, college football with Dave Koken. It doesn't get much better than that. Outstanding start, Dave. 3-1 football year to date. You're perfect in NFL. You're seeing it, and it's great to be doing it right at the beginning of the season. Welcome to Wager Talk Today.
Thanks. Yeah, it's way better to get off to a 5-1 start than a 1-5 start.
Some deep thoughts from Dave Koken. Well, let's get straight into it. Syracuse plus 21.5 versus Pittsburgh, a total of 50.5. Dave, take this game apart for us.
All right. Well, the first thing is I'm not laying 3 touchdowns with Narduzzi. So Pittsburgh eliminated. But Pittsburgh might be really good. So, is this coach going to hamstring the team? Well, we'll have to wait and see on that. Their defense is outstanding. And that's a problem for Syracuse because you watched last week's game against North Carolina. Their offensive line got overwhelmed in that game by the Tar Heels. And Pittsburgh's got a better defense than North Carolina does. So I don't know where Syracuse is going to get their points from. Syracuse was – this is where I have trouble making a conclusion out of one game. Syracuse is running a 3-3-5. North Carolina looked unprepared for the 3-3-5 coming out of the gate last week. Howell did not have a good first half. But I don't know how much they practiced against it because it's a scheme they're really not going to see much of. And, you can't draw a conclusion out of that. So I don't know if the Syracuse defense was really that good or whether it was, just a situation where they were able to excel for a half, or actually 3 quarters before they got run over. And I'm glad they got run over because I had North Carolina and didn't think I had much chance of covering that game midway through it and ended up getting the money. So that worked out pretty well. This is one of those games on paper where if you just power rate it, it's right around the number. But I don't trust the power ratings on Pittsburgh because, again, I'm not a fan of their head coach. And I just don't know what quite to make of Syracuse just yet. I know they're not going to be good offensively, but the defense might be a lot better than I thought. If I had to play the game, I'd probably take a shot on the under, but it's not something I feel real strongly about, guys.
Yeah, and I know you're not a totals guy, Dave, but boy,
no.
That under makes a heck of a lot of sense to me. I don't know, there was a major conference team that I saw that looked worse offensively last week than Syracuse. They had no chance in that game. And the left tackle got hurt early. DeVito looked lost. DeVito's never been a QB that I've loved to begin with. But do you think that – and we expect Syracuse to play fast, which makes us a little bit reluctant to play unders in Syracuse games. But, to me, that offense looks absolutely lost. Would you take that same opinion?
Yeah, it ties into something that I find irritating. The copycat syndrome in college football. Everybody's playing fast. We got to play fast. Syracuse should probably be huddling after every play and knocking down the clock as much as possible because what strength they have is on defense. And if you're a good defensive team, the last thing you want to do is wear out your defense. And you do that with 3 and outs on offense and then them having to go play on defense against somebody else who's playing fast. So I completely disagree with with this widespread syndrome in college football where we have to play fast, even if our personnel and offense sucks.
Well, I mean, Dino's been doing that.
Syracuse falls into that category.
Yeah, but Dino got hired to do that. He did that at Bowling Green. So, I mean,
but that was in the MAC, and he had a good offense. Now he's in the ACC, and he doesn't have a good offense. He's got I'm going to call him a mediocre quarterback where we had the same feelings about DeVito. I mean, he's not horrible, but so maybe mediocre is the wrong word, but he sure isn't great. I mean, to me, you adjust your schemes or your game planning, not the scheme. The scheme is the scheme, but you adjust your game planning to suit your personnel, and their personnel it's pretty simple. They're better on defense than they are on offense. So what you should be doing is running a game plan that gives your defense its best opportunity to be at its best and keeps your rotten offense off the field, in a sense. I mean, they're just not going to put together a lot of great drives. I completely disagree with so many college coaches on this because it's like everybody else is doing it, so we have to do it.
He's Dave Koch and Danny Covers with us. We're talking college football. Dave, South Florida plus 24.5 versus Notre Dame 49. And before you get into it, I got to tell you, on Saturday, and I don't remember specifically when, I took I did some in-game betting, and I took Notre Dame minus 11.5, and then I took over 37.5. It was sitting on minus 11 and 37 until the Notre Dame guy kicked a field goal and cashed both those bets for me. I was like losing my mind. Anyway, Dave, take that game apart.
Well, we'll see what happens at South Florida. I think they're probably going to be a little better team because they have a better coach than they had last year. Notre Dame didn't show much on offense last week. Now, I don't know whether that was by design, that they, in other words, didn't want to show a lot early on, or whether it was just a lack of imagination. But their offense was very vanilla last week. Book made some good throws. He also made some bad throws. So there was some rust on the Notre Dame side, to be sure. South Florida, I can't really gather much out of South Florida because they played a triple option team. I don't know that they were particularly prepared. It was the Citadel, so how prepared were they going to be for that with Notre Dame ahead? It power rates about where the line is. I think Notre Dame probably is going to win the game fairly easily, but you got to lay a ton of points, and the problem with laying big points with an offense that might not be great, they've got to get some help to cover in games like that. So Notre Dame might have to get a turnover score or something like that to cover the spread. But the personnel matchup is a mismatch. I mean, South Florida cannot match up with Notre Dame. And, if the Irish are better than they were last week, then this turns into a boat race. It's a tough game from that standpoint. That's the problem with big number games early in the season, is that even when you have a mismatch in personnel, and that's pretty much what you have here, you don't always get there because of the fact that the team with the clearly superior personnel isn't quite where they want to be, and they just don't make the most of their opportunities. So, if you're asking me who I've got to bet, I guess if I had to bet the game, I'd take Notre Dame, but I'm not real comfortable with it.
So let me ask you about the Irish. I thought there were similarities last week between Notre Dame's performance and North Carolina's performance, where both teams looked fairly sluggish early and then found a little bit of rhythm later in the ballgame. It was enough for the Tar Heels to cover. It was not enough for the Irish to cover. I think in part because Duke played better, at least than I thought they would. The Blue Devils came in there and hung tough. Would you agree with that? Do you think that between the first game and the second game, teams that had some offensive issues and weren't necessarily clicking on all cylinders might be clicking on all cylinders this week, now that they've had 60 minutes of football to work the kinks out?
Yeah, and that's why I kind of lean to Notre Dame in the game, because I do think they'll be better offensively this week than they were last week. But there are some, there's going to be some issues with Notre Dame all year. They don't have any speed at wideout. And I think that's going to hamstring their offense a little bit. They're going to have to be a team that gets, small chunks of yardage and moves the ball downfield and plays ball control. At least that's my opinion early on. And look, Duke gave them fits last week. Duke's defensive line matched up really well with Notre Dame's offensive line. I don't know that you're going to see that out of South Florida. The Bulls were pretty bad last year, and I don't know how much improved they're going to be this year. Although again, I think they're better coached than they were a season ago, and that should help them stay in some games.
Guys, Dave Koken, 3-1 in college football, 2-0 in NFL, 5-1 in football year to date. Dave's got a 5%. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, you didn't think I had your back? Anyway, Dave's got a 5%. Dave has got a 5% play on Saturday in college football. Guys, do not miss this. 75% over the last 12 months.
No, that's not. That's 70. It's 72%.
Okay, 72%. My apologies. Whatever it is, it's absolutely spectacular. This is an absolute must-play bet. Saturday, Dave is a 5% play. I suggest you guys buy his 3-day package for $69 over at WagerTalk.com. Also, guys, 170 of you watching, 33 likes. I am not happy with that. Tony Dorsett needs to go. I aged myself. Let's get up to some Wayne Gretzky numbers. 99. Let's go. Dave, UCF -7 and a hook versus Georgia Tech. 62 is the total. What do you want to do in this one?
Yeah, this is a fun game. Georgia Tech they were good last week against Florida State. Young quarterback, he made a couple of mistakes, but Georgia Tech looks like they got a guy under center who can play. Here's the tough part. Florida State was really bad. Okay, Blackman's he's just a bad quarterback. Their wideouts are not good. They had a drop touchdown pass. Florida State was very unimpressive, and looks like they're still hung over from the Taggart train wreck that was there. I think Florida State's going to have some troubles. So I don't know how much of what I saw from Georgia Tech was real and how much of that was helped by the fact that Florida State was just awful. And now they play a much different style team in Central Florida. Because Central Florida is going to speed things up. They play at warp speed. Gabriel's going to throw the ball all over the place. They like to throw bombs. I don't know that the receiving core is as good as it was a year ago. This is a weird game because my power ratings say I'm supposed to play Central Florida here. But I do have some misgivings. And the main misgiving is that Georgia Tech might just be a whole lot better than I thought they were coming into the season. I like what Collins is doing there, but I thought, boy, it's only a year removed from the triple option. It's still playing a different style with personnel that might not be completely suited to it. And then, I watched them last week, and they looked pretty good. So I'm in the learning stage with Georgia Tech, and my gut feeling is that my number is wrong in this game, and that I probably should be playing Georgia Tech in a game they might just pull the upset in. But I'm actually not going to pull the trigger because I don't like to draw too much out of one game. And again, I think Georgia Tech did get some help last week by the fact that Florida State was pretty bad in that football game. Teddy, I don't know if you saw it or not, but this Seminole Nation can't be really optimistic about what's in store for this season. This is not a good football team.
Well, you have a bad offensive line and a bad quarterback and a dicey receiving core. It doesn't make for a lot of blowout wins for Florida State. Yeah, I watched every college. That's one of the beauties of the reduced schedule is that you get to watch every game. And I think the only game I didn't watch last Saturday was the Texas UTEP game. I didn't see Oklahoma play either. But, yeah, exactly. But I watched just about everything else. Week 2 is such a conundrum of a week because the old concept is, you don't want to try to catch the falling knife. Similarly, with a team like Georgia Tech that might be way under power rated compared to how they looked in week one and what they could be this year. It's a team that could very much be on the rise that you don't want to step in front of. So when you're dealing with those type of conundrums, teams that may be a lot better or a lot worse than power rating numbers, or week one could be a mirage, how do you differentiate there, Dave? How do you, are there things you look for to say this was real versus this was just a one-game hiccup?
It's both. I mean, you just have to look at it and make assessments on each individual basis. And it does make it tough. I have a tendency when I see something that's completely away from what I thought it would be in week one, I'm not gonna make a wild adjustment in my ratings because of it. So that's why I didn't do a lot with the Georgia Tech rating, and it's why on my power ratings I'm supposed to play Central Florida here. But I respect what I saw enough out of Georgia Tech, so that it's like, hey, you know what, this might be real, but I need to see another game to find out and make a determination. So it's kind of like that with, and that is, you see in the NFL too. I mean, it's not as pronounced in the NFL, but there are definitely some teams that surprised me last week, either one way or the other. And now I have to wait and see if, wait a minute, was that phony? Was it a 1 week blip? Or is this something that I'm going to have to take into consideration as far as this team's concerned moving forward? That's the fun. It's the fun part of it, because you can call it guesswork. Educated guesswork is what I prefer to call it. I still value my opinion, but I don't chisel it in granite either. You can get in trouble doing that.
What a perfect place to move on. Well, because we all value your opinion, Dave Koken. I can't thank you enough for today. You were on Puck Time earlier. You're now on WagerTalk Today with Teddy and I. It's such a pleasure to have you, learn from you, talk with you.
Thanks. And I'll be doing the Major League Baseball show, first pitch at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. We will run down the whole schedule and hopefully have some good opinions on the show with Andrew McGinnis and our guests today. Marco's on, and I forget who the fourth guy on the panel is. My apologies, but it should be a real good show.
Thanks, brother. Guys, if you got questions, we're going to take them and answer them in 1 minute. We'll be right back.
Every Monday is $9 Mondays over at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Get any best bet or daily package for only $9.
If you like how Yanni and Marco break down the games here on Bet On It, why not have them call all the plays out for you? This week only, get both Yanni and Marco's 90-day all-sport, all-access package for the lowest price of the year. Individually, this package sells for $8.49 each, but Yanni and Marco have a special Bet On It combo package. You get both guys for 90 days for just $9.99. That is less than $6 a day for each guy. This is a special for Bet On It, only good this week. Do not miss out.
Teddy Covers love having Dave on. My God, our guests, dude. I mean, come on. Mark Lawrence, Gianni, he'll be back next Thursday. Matt coming up next. It's such a great show. Such a privilege to do this with you. Listen, we're pushed for time. I want to race through. I got a promo. It's for me. I'm a narcissist. I got a 5% play in the NHL tonight, Teddy. 5% play. I'm 4-1 on 5% plays in the playoffs. I'm on a 25-10, 5% a run. WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code Prez NHL15. Prez NHL15. $15 off. A couple of quick questions, Teddy, and then we'll bring Matt in. Then we got to do the big game breakdown. But the bottom line is everybody wants to know Cleveland or Cincinnati. We've gone through this game already this week, but just a quick 10-second answer.
Sure. And realistically, we probably should have broken down the game again on today's show. I did a little big game breakdown on this earlier in the week because there were no big games that night. So we did Cincinnati and Cleveland. You can always go back and check the archives for a more detailed breakdown of this game. My bottom line was I wasn't going to touch it. All right. I did not trust the Browns in any way, shape, or form to be laying a price at this stage of the season. It's a new head coach. It's a new scheme. They looked lost offensively again last week. And Baker Mayfield, a QB who is difficult for me to lay points within a division rivalry game. Cincinnati looked good on defense. I think there's defensive hope for the Bengals. There's offensive hope as well. But if you want me to back a rookie QB on a short week on the road, ain't going to do it. Not week 2. So it's a pretty clear pass for me. From a total standpoint, I would lean to the under. Certainly the Thursday night divisional games have trended under, but it's only a lean. It's not coming out of my pocket because I think Cleveland's better offensively than we saw last week, and I certainly saw enough out of Joe Burrow to make me interested in backing him, and both teams have the potential to play fast. So it's a clear pass. I'm not close to the window and getting the window in this one. Best of luck if you do bet the game tonight.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I lean on the under. I do lean on Cleveland, but what we saw last week, all coaches that just joined their teams, Carthy and Rule, et cetera, all of them lost. We've got to see how this shapes up. It's a pass on the side for me, and I'm on a lean on the under as well. Brother, it's time for Teddy's big game breakdown. Miami plus 2.5 versus Boston. I could just guess where you're going, but instead I'll hand it to you.
So I'll tell you what. I had the Celtics in game 1. I had the Celtics for the series, and I'm worried about my bet. That game 1 to me was an eye-opener. And it was an eye-opener because I thought Boston would be able to penetrate against Miami's defense. And I thought it was a defensive step down in class for the Celtics compared to what they had just faced in Toronto. That was not the case. Boston blew that double-digit lead in the fourth quarter because Miami was in their face and the Celtics had no open looks, and they played one-on-one basketball. And if Boston does that, they're going to lose this series. They're going to lose this game tonight. We'll see if Brad Stevens can make adjustments. And, of course, Miami did hit a bunch of big shots down the stretch. But, again, that's what the Heat have been doing. When you talk about a player you want your money on in crunch time this postseason, nobody more than Jimmy Butler. And Butler made all the plays down the stretch for Miami. And, of course, if we talk about Tyler Hero, it's not just Hero. There are a number of contributors, the role players for Miami, not all of whom had a great game 1, but many of whom are capable of stepping up in any given ball game. Like I said, I have the Heat. I have the Celtics for this series. I have the Celtics in game 1, and I don't want to overreact. I'm not going to flip, but I'm very concerned about my Boston bet right now. Miami was the better team in game 1, and they might be the better team in game 2 as well.
Yeah, and Teddy, I know totally irrelevant, but come on, Jimmy Butler's hair, coolest thing around.
No cooler than your hair, Lawrence.
That's true. My hair is pretty damn cool. Well said, Teddy. Well said. Matt Joseph! Me and you did the NFL presidential address yesterday. That show has already got 4,000 views. You are a prop god, brother. I am so excited to have you with us. We're gonna do this segment all on NFL props. I'm gonna step back, put my feet on the table, and let you and Teddy handle this. Go.
Well, I mean, you guys were talking about how hard of a game it is to bet tonight. And so when you look at that, you go elsewhere. You go to the player props. You go to the team props. You go to field goal props, whatever it is. The game plan usually, I'll say this real quick before I get to my favorite one, is before you go into the game, have a game plan. Because if you open up the prop page on your favorite sports book, your favorite casino, you're going to be overwhelmed. And you're going to say, I want to take this, 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 and this. But if you figure out mentally, how's this game going to go tonight? How are, is there going to be more running, passing, weather, all that stuff, and you have numbers in your mind, then when you open up that page and say, okay, this is what I see, you're not going to take everything. You're going to say, well, I don't like this number. The passing yards is too high. This is too low. So to me, you've got to go into it with a game plan or else you're going to get overwhelmed because there are a ton of ways to bet this game other than, sides and totals.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And the best prop bettors that I know, Matt, are guys who have numbers, who've worked their numbers before they're looking at the numbers. And that way, you automatically have a strike price. You think the over-under passing yard should be 249.5, and it comes out 237, bang. You're looking in one direction. If it comes out 274.5, you're looking in the other direction. And if you like the over, you wouldn't play it. So having that game plan going in makes perfect sense, especially for beginning bettors / undisciplined bettors. It's very easy to get carried away in the prop market. Not that it's not easy to get carried away in the sides or totals market either.
Yeah, so for tonight, I'm looking at Kareem Hunt. And the important thing is, and I've heard you guys say this multiple times, shop around. Because each book's going to have different numbers. They're each going to have different options. Some books have the reception, some don't. Some have receiving yards, some don't. There's a sports book, I don't know if we're allowed to say it, that has the rushing and receiving yards combined. FanDuel has 65.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. I like that. I like the over for that tonight. If you look last week, he had 13 rushes for 72 yards. He had 6 targets for 4 catches for 9 yards. Now, part of that could have been they were behind and they didn't want to stress Nick Chubb out. But I also think they like Kareem Hunt. He just got the contract extension. If you look at the 2 matchups last year, December 8th against Cincinnati, he had 28 rushing yards, 40 receiving yards, 2 targets in that game, 2 catches. The Week 17 game, which, by the way, Cleveland really didn't care. They were ready to go home. He had 4 rushes and 32 receiving yards. Throw that out because, that was a team that had no interest in playing that game. So I'm going to throw that statistics out. Now, the other part that comes into this is how do you handicap this game? Because last year in wins, Kareem Hunt had 27 carries and 17 receptions. But in losses last year, he had 16 rushes and 20 receptions. So if you think that the Browns are going to win, he's probably going to get more rushing yards. If you think they're going to lose and they're going to be behind and they're going to be throwing a lot, then you probably look at the receptions. The other thing to notice here is Geno Atkins and Mike Daniels, 2 nose tackles, both out for the Bengals today. In theory, if this was an intelligent team, they would run the ball a lot. And they would run it up the middle because the tackles are an issue for the Browns tonight. A bunch of them are banged up. So to me, if they're going to run it a lot, then maybe you lean to the rushing yards. I'm going to take all of that out of it and try and combine both of them and take the over 65.5 rushing and receiving yards tonight and just hope he goes nuts in both directions.
And that's a really important point you made there, Matt, about the differences between one sportsbook and another, where you'll find a prop here and a different prop there, and the ability to shop for different props. When you look at the WagerTalk live odds screen every day, you'll see all the sides, all the totals. You get first half, second half, money lines. You will not see player props listed. And that means that when the sports books aren't communicating with each other on player props, the way they're communicating with each other on sides and totals, on point spreads, on money lines. So you will find enormous, sometimes, variance from one sports book to the next on what the number is. It doesn't always last long, but it's there at least for a period of time. So the ability to line shop for these props is paramount if you want to be successful.
All right, so 2 guys I'm looking at on Sunday, and we'll go over this quickly because I know you're crunched for time. We have our classic squeaky wheel already in the NFL in week 2 with Mike Evans. Mike Evans had 4 targets, 1 catch for 2 yards against the Saints. He had Marshawn Lattimore practically following him off the bus. Well, Bruce Arians on his radio show said, look, I'm disappointed anytime I can't get him 10-plus targets. You've got Chris Godwin, who's suffering from a concussion potentially. He didn't even have it. Monday and Tuesday, he was fine. And then yesterday, all of a sudden, he sits out practice with lingering symptoms. So if he doesn't play, you've got Mike Evans going up against a Carolina Panthers team that doesn't have good corners. You've got last year, Evans had 25 targets and 13 catches in 2 games against Carolina. Rasul Douglas is one of their corners. He's terrible. Troy Pride Jr. was one of the lowest rated Pro Football Focus corners in the league last week. So to me, classic squeaky wheel here. I'm looking at the over for receptions and yards for Mike Evans. And depending upon if it's a plus price, I'm looking at him scoring a touchdown as well. Last one for you, and I know this name may not necessarily come up, so you might have to search for it. Tight end Logan Thomas for the Washington football team. The numbers aren't out yet because usually the props don't come out till Friday or Saturday. They don't want to get bit by an injury, and then everybody loads up on something. Logan Thomas last week had 8 targets, 4 catches for the Washington football team, 37 yards and a touchdown. He played in 74% of the snaps. He's going up against the Arizona Cardinals, and for all the fantasy football people, they know the Arizona Cardinals are the worst against tight ends in the league. Last year, they averaged 8.1 targets against 6.1 receptions for 73.3 receiving yards. The one worry was the reason why Logan Thomas was busy last week was because Terry McLaurin had Darius Slay attached to him everywhere he went. But still, I think Logan Thomas is a solid red zone threat. He could be worth something to score here. But if you get a decent reception number, maybe 2.5, 3.5, you maybe look at the over there. But I think Logan Thomas is a good bet to score against a Cardinals team that traditionally is terrible against tight ends.
I want to go back to Mike Evans.
Real
Real quickly, I want to go back to Mike Evans.
Note.
I'd like to go back to Mike Evans for just a moment, if we could, because my biggest concern about him is the fact that the Bucks are 9.5 point favorites in that ball game. If Tampa's got a big lead second half, do they take the air out of the ball? Do you worry about the point spread and getting an over on a receiver with a team that's favored by more than a touchdown? Because if they have a lead, they might not be throwing the ball around in the second half.
That's a good point, Teddy. So maybe you want to go more towards the touchdown because I think one of the things I'm probably going to end up playing is Tampa in the first quarter, the first half. I think they're angry after the New Orleans game. I think that Carolina's hurting a little bit after a tough loss, a really young team, new coaching staff, traveling to Tampa Bay, a team that was supposed to be, the greatest show on turf with all the guys they have on offense. So to me, maybe you lean more towards Evans scoring a touchdown. You hope it comes in the first half. But with no Chris Godwin and an offense that's going to figure to probably put up 30-plus points, you've got potentially 4 opportunities for Evans to get that touchdown.
Matt, the only thing that worries me about that Mike Evans prop is that Bruce Arians said Mike Evans didn't get enough touches. That guy is a cagey, wily man. Mike Evans as a decoy, plus 800. Dude, we got a couple of quick minutes left with you. Jonathan Taylor, Juju Schuster, you got a couple of props on that, and then we'll call it a segment.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, look, going into the season, I think a lot of people said he was going to eventually take the job from Marlon Mack. Well, Marlon Mack goes down with the injury. He's done for the season. He was really busy as a receiver. 6 targets, 6 catches for 67 yards. He had 9 carries for 22 yards. I mean, Prez, you and I did the show, and we talked about I expected Phillip Rivers to be a game manager. No way did I think he's going to be throwing it nearly 50 times a game, and certainly in a game that they were winning, and it was close. You figured this is a run-based team. The concern with Taylor was catching the ball out of the backfield. At Wisconsin, he had 50 catchable targets and had 8 drops. Well, clearly after one game, he's shown that they're willing to throw the ball to him and he's willing to be involved in the offense. Yeah. You've got a number 1 offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus. To me, once again, much like Kareem Hunt, I'm looking for the props that have the rushing and the receiving. I'm not going to cut out one of them. I'm going to try and get both of them, and certainly I think he's going to score. Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, there's not a guy more happy in America than Juju Smith-Schuster with Big Ben coming back because these two had a really good chemistry. You saw it on Monday Night Football. He played 55 of the 64 snaps, 6 targets, 6 catches for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Last year, he had 16 targets, 11 catches with the 2 games that Big Ben was in there. So the two of them have chemistry. Oh, yeah, by the way, A.J. Boye is out at corner for Denver. So you've got guys like Devontae Harris, Duke Dawson, Bryce Callahan, Michael Olajumida. I don't think I got it right, but it doesn't really matter. Those are your cornerbacks. That's what we're looking at for Denver. So to me, once again, I think Juju Smith-Schuster could be very busy on Sunday against a very weak Denver secondary.
He's Matt Joseph. I'm the Prez. Teddy Covers with us. I got 2 quick props for you guys in hockey tonight. Then we'll take a commercial break and bring Ralph Michael over in shots. Victor Hedman over 2.5 shots himself, and I love that bet. So there's 2 for tonight in hockey. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. That was outstanding work. Guys, we're going to be right back with Ralph Michaels.
Have you ever wanted to create your own WagerTalk Dream Team? Well, we are excited to announce you can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at WagerTalk.com. Even more exciting, until Sunday at midnight, you can save up to 40% on your favorite 2 or 3 handicappers and pay as little as $1.99 for a full month of picks. That's right, we've got Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, The Prez, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, Hakeem Prophet, Tony Finn, Rob Vino, Brian Leonard, and so many more. The combinations are absolutely endless. who's going to make up your dream team lineup, just go to WagerTalk.com, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Pick Your Team will go back to regular pricing on Monday, so make sure to take full advantage of this incredible offer.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Teddy, Matthew Helms asks, Teddy and Prez are actually getting along well together today. What the hell is going on? You got laid last night.
Yeah. How'd you know?
That's so awesome, dude. That's so awesome. 19 more likes, guys. Let's go. And Ralph Michaels. I love this segment. He's so good. I see the pen moving, Ralph. What's going on with you, brother?
You know, I got to stop in and go off the script here. Teddy, I'm typing in my database real quick as you're talking to Matt, talking about a 7-point favorite versus a 7-point dog and throwing. And I said, oh, my God, Teddy Covers is brilliant. I want some info to back that up. So I went back to 2015 in the NFL. Favorites of 7 or more have actually completed 22.8 completions, passed for 253 yards. Dogs of 7 or more, 19.8 completions, 3 less than the favorite, and only 196 yards per game. So 57 yards less per game. So those numbers shocked the hell out of me that a 7-point favorite has 3 more completions and 50 more yards than a 7-point dog.
And it's funny because it doesn't shock me right off the bat, just because teams that are 7-point dogs aren't very good. And they're stepping up in class against better defenses. So those, tend to be more of your blowouts.
Well,
hey guys,
Michael,
I want to mention our Pick Your Team special, Prez. Let me just – I'm taking over now, Prez. Normally you tell Teddy to. I'm just taking over. You guys just saw the commercial with Kelly Stewart talking about Pick Your Team special. I'm just going to break it down in one other perspective. If you're going to buy a 7-day all-access package anyway, which almost most of you do every week, this package allows you to get a second service for just $80 more and a third service for just $38 more. And how about this? If you're going to buy a 30-day all-access package with this Pick Your Team special, you're getting a second service for just $169 more and a third service, 30 days all-access, just $79 more. So an incredible way to pick your favorite 2 or 3 handicappers at WagerTalk and pick your own VIP team. All right, I'm going to jump into the angle of the day, and I'm going to get it back to you, Teddy, real quick. I want to preface this. We continue to get new customers every day. My angle of the day is just a number that's pretty high. It doesn't mean I'm telling you to play this team. It doesn't mean I'm betting the angle. But what I wanted to do is, if you like the team angle I'm giving you, perhaps it makes your bet a little stronger. If you were on the other side, perhaps it makes that play a little weaker. So I am not betting these plays as the angle of the day, but they are certainly something for you to think about. Teddy and Prez, Mike Zimmer has been in the league since 2014. The first time he played a non-division foe off a straight-up loss, he failed to cover. Since that time, he is 19-2-1 against the spread, 90% ATS versus a non-division foe off a straight-up loss like he is this week.
Sure. And that is a heck of a stat. One of the things that I'm always worried about with coaches and stats like this is that once they get a record, it's going to look good forever, even if they're mediocre in that role moving forward. And Minnesota's been phenomenal. I mean, in general, they've been great off a loss. So there's been the Zimmer era has been very good for Minnesota doing just that. The question is this year's team different? And that's the only question you can ask in this ballgame. Because if it's not, you have to like the Vikings this week. If it is, then that's a trend that's likely to go in the other direction, but still look good for years because of what it's built up already.
Yeah, if you go, if he has 3 losses, 19-5 is still a record that would be worthy of making this segment. Situational play of the day for those new followers. This plays a little stronger. This is a game where I looked at situations on both sides. This is a game that I actually released when the line was higher. It's dropped down now, but I still like this game. Saturday, college football, game number 143, Houston plus 4.5 against Baylor. Houston, 8-0 spring practice edge. Houston, 19-9 returning starters edge. Cougars head coach, 10 years of experience, second year with this team. Baylor's Aranda, first time as a head coach, first game ever. FYI, teams that have had 5 more spring practices than their opponent, 6-2 ATS. First-year head coaches in this COVID season, 2-8 ATS. So situational play of the day. This is a spot where I want to quickly mention as well. A lot of people are going to say you can't bet Houston because you didn't get the best of the line because it was 7.5. Teddy, we talked about this before. But this is a game where I have Houston power rated as a 1-point favorite or a pick 'em, and I do like Houston plus the 4.5, game number 143. And I didn't type out the Wager Talk Did You Know, guys, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Pretty simple. Simple scenario, easy to figure out which plays apply. NFL week number 2. Both teams lost the opener. So week 2, we have a pair of 0-1 teams, and the line is 3.5 or higher. Which covers 68% of the time? The 0-1 favorite of 3.5 or more, or the 0-1 dog of 3.5 or more? Guesses, gentlemen.
Teddy?
Now, that's a really interesting question. And I honestly don't know. I don't even know which way to guess. Whether I want the favorite or the how much. What percentage is that?
68%.
68%. I'm supposed to be know and or be able to guess, and I have no idea. I'm going to guess the favorite.
It is the favorite. 45-21. 68.2. What's that?
What did we win? I want a prize.
You get to hear the rest of the angle. So 45-21, 68.2%. And Teddy and Prez, how about this? The home dogs are 8-5, so there haven't been many home dogs that have been 0-1. But the away dogs of 3.5 or more, 37-16, 70% against the spread, going back to 2007. So, we have 50-plus games over 13 years, a number that surprised the heck out of me. The teams it applies to this week: Cincinnati tonight, Atlanta against Dallas, the Jets against San Francisco, and Carolina against Tampa Bay.
So, Ralph, let me jump in because Prez and I both said the favorite, but it's the dog that's hitting 68% in those games.
It is the dog, yes.
Oh,
you're right. You said, what did I win? And I said, you get to hear the rest of the angle. I should have said, despite you not winning, you get to hear the rest of the angle. So it is the dog. When both teams are 0-1, it is the dog that covers. And one more number, guys. Sorry about that confusion. One more number which makes sense that the dog covers, Teddy and Prez. When both teams are 0-1 and a line is 3.5 or higher, 62.5% of the games have gone under the total. So you're 0-1, you're playing a little more conservative. That talks to the Browns and Bengals going under today. You don't want to start 0-2. You're not putting your quarterback in bad situations. So, again, the dog, let me make it clear, the dog covers 68.2% of the time. The away dog covers 70% of the time. And in those games, 62.5% have gone under the total.
Ralph Michaels, you are a machine, brother. I got a quick question. We got a couple of minutes. I got a quick question from a viewer, a listener, whatever Teddy calls. He lectures me. I get it wrong. Ralph, I'm going to hand you a question that you are the best person in Wager Talk to answer. Crypt asks, for someone who is getting started in sports betting and has a $1,000 bankroll, what is the best way to utilize Wager Talk services Should I be looking at single game packages or longer term packages?
Well, it's funny. I just answered a customer's email on Twitter, the exact same question. He's $100 better, and he wanted to know if he can buy 3 package special, and is that worth it? And I told him no, because as $100 better, you're going to have to hit 56% of that money just to break even. So if you have a $1,000 bankroll and you are going to buy a service, let's say you buy one service for a month, that's $300. I'm okay with a one service package, but you can't spend 60% of your bankroll and then expect to have a realistic expectation. I had 65 plays last month. So if I'm going to go at 65 plays and hit 60%, which is a very high percentage, that's too high to figure it out. You figure I'm going to have 38 wins and 27 losses. So you're plus 11 units, and then you have to take off 2.8 units for juice. So you're plus 8 units. So if you're spending $300 and you're only making 8 units, it's not a situation you want to be in. What you're going to have to try to do is buy some of the specials we have, buy the $2, buy the value plays, buy that $9, build your bankroll, find some of that you want to have perhaps for a low weekly special, and then build your bankroll that way. So, there's times at WagerTalk we tell you, we don't want you to buy a service, because if you're extending too much of your bankroll to buy a service, you're not going to have a successful period with that handicapper, and the expectations are too high. When you have more of a bankroll, please do buy us, because you'll make money in the long run. But again, you can't buy someone and they start 2-7 the first few days, end up finishing winning, but that 2-7 run did hurt your bankroll.
Guys, ask yourself this question. What service have you ever purchased in your life in this industry that would decline taking your money because it is the wrong thing to do, both for us and for you? We got your back, guys. We got your back. Now get ours. 6 more likes to end the show. Teddy, take us home.
Thank you so much for watching WagerTalk Today. We'll be back again in 23 hours to do it all over. NFL preview tomorrow, loaded show. Don't miss it. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on WagerTalk Today. Enjoy the games and good luck.
Have you ever wanted to create your own WagerTalk Dream Team? Well, we are excited to announce you can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at WagerTalk.com. Even more exciting, until Sunday at midnight, you can save up to 40% on your favorite 2 or 3 handicappers and pay as little as $1.99 for a full month of picks. That's right, we've got Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, The Prez, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, Hakeem Profit, Tony Finn, Rob Vino, Brian Leonard, and so many more. The combinations are absolutely endless. Who's going to make up your dream team lineup? Just go to WagerTalk.com, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Pick Your Team will go back to regular pricing on Monday, so make sure to take full advantage of this incredible offer.